My name is Autumn Mays and I am the founder CEO of Noteworthy Inc. For us musicians, this year has most likely given us a lot of time to perfect our craft and practice our instrument. However, for some people, especially those who are beginners and intermediate, they might not necessarily have the resources to connect with a private instructor and continue to advance along with their instrument. So in this video today, I will be sharing my top 6 most effective ways to practice your instrument, and this is especially for my violinists out there who are beginners. So my first tip, which seems simple but can actually be a little bit complicated, is just to make sure that you're tuned before you start any practicing. And the reason why I say it can be complicated is because sometimes, especially with string instruments, the pegs and the fine tuners can be a little bit tricky to stay in place. So there are lots of tuner apps that you can download on the App Store for free, so you don't really have to spend any money, but I would definitely recommend using a tuner while you tune, even if you do have perfect pitch, as they say. So just to give a really brief overview, to tune an instrument, especially violin, you have your fine tuners down here, and then you have your pegs up here. So the fine tuners are for just small minor adjustments and the pegs are for major adjustments. So if your violin is not too far from being in tune, I would definitely recommend using the fine tuners, and if your strings are just completely out of tune, I would use the pegs. To go higher in pitch with the fine tuners, you're going to turn to your right, and then if you need to go lower in pitch, you would turn to your left. Now for the pegs, how you would do it: if it needs to go higher, you're going to turn away from you, and if it needs to go lower, you're going to turn towards you. My second tip that I have for you is to warm up. The way that I warm up is that I usually play scales, and I play them slow or fast depending on what I want to focus on more. I play slow to get more of my pitch and intonation, and then I also play fast for more of technique. And scales are a really good way to practice because not only are you working on your fingers, but you are also working on your bow arm. The third tip that I have for you is to use a metronome. And I know that metronomes are all musicians' worst enemy, including myself. I don't really like the metronome just because it points out the flaws and mistakes that you make, but it is important to also note that mistakes are okay, especially when you're practicing. That's the whole reason why we practice, is to get better. And the plus with metronomes is that a lot of tuner apps, like I mentioned before, also have a metronome installed in there. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to stay tuned next week for part 2 as I reveal the rest of the tips that I have for most effective ways of practicing your instrument.